Hi guys, I'm in the studio today with Steve Quick.
Hey there.
And we're going to be laying down some drum tracks for the song called Forever Hallelujah. So,
Woo!
it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be great.
Hello again and welcome back. In this episode, we are going to be talking about my friend Stephen Quick, who came in to play drums on Forever Hallelujah. And we're going to talk about his participation in the music, his studio performance, the video shoot we did for him for the music video for Forever Hallelujah. But there's more to this story than just the music. In my journey creating these albums, I have formed relationships over time. And each relationship has a journey of its own. You're going to hear about some of that journey with Steve and I. So I'm not going to spoil it for you, but just letting you know that this episode is about more than just the music. And so with that, let's get to Steve's interview.
Hi, I'm Bob. You've seen me before. You may be wondering why we're here today. We're here to talk to a musician who played on the latest project of Jeremie Heston, and I'd like him to introduce himself.
And my name is Steven. I'm glad I'm here with the V.
What instrument did you play?
I play drums.
Only?
I sing, contrary to popular belief.
Wow. You're coming out.
I am.
Do you play any other instruments?
I aspire to play bass. I do sing, for real. Yeah.
I believe you.
Lighting tech work. That's not an instrument, but...
That has a lot to do with production.
Mm-hmm.
And any other types of drums?
Electric. I play the cajon as well, drum box, some percussion.
How long have you been doing this?
Picked up drums when I turned 21. Somebody told me one day to stop listening and start playing. And so I went out the following day and bought a drum set.
Wow. So you were, before that, just a watcher and
I just watched.
passive.
Yeah. I was at a New Year's Eve party and I was listening to Foreigner's Jukebox Hero. And I was like, listen to this. And the gal just said, you should just go play. I'm like, huh. So when I got a Neil Peart kit,
So did you actively do any musical stuff before 21?
sang.
Okay.
I was in 5 choirs.
Interesting. So you got your drum set and self-taught then?
Self-taught. I took 1 lesson.
Wow. That's impressive. It is.
It was actually an interesting story. The guy was in Gresham. It was 95 degrees out, and this was 20 years ago. The sum up version of it is he told me to bring my kick snare high and had me play a groove, and he said, I'll be back. And so I'm playing this groove for 15 minutes. And then he comes back and says, I want you to play this groove. And then leaves. He comes back 15 minutes. And I paid $150 for this. And this is 20 some years ago. And I not even been an hour yet. And he goes, okay, we're done. I went, okay. He says, here's the moral of the story. If you can't hold the pocket, you can't control anything. And that was my only lesson.
Interesting. Wow.
So I've always been by definition, a pocket drummer.
So with all the advancement in technology and ways you can get that sound duplicated, as far as, any instrument now can be duplicated all sorts of different ways. What's the most fun and most interesting way, an old, I say old style drum set, the electronics?
Oh, I've always preferred live acoustic kit. I mean, electronic has its place. It's more for control.
How about the plastic drums? Inverted cans.
No, I just pretty much like the acoustic kits. I don't mind playing other stuff, but I mean, if I was given a choice between drum sets, I'd play a live kit. There's so much more you can do in dynamic and sounds and that you just can't do on an acoustic kit or an electric kit.
Too narrow.
What about the Hello Kitty set that you have?
That was yours.
I know
we need to talk about that,
that
by
was
the
your
way.
favorite for a long time. That was part of our counseling sessions, remember?
No, that was your counseling session about the other thing that we talk about every day.
No, I remember 12 steps of letting go, and we started with Hello Kitty.
Hello Kitty. That's right.
I digress. Sorry. Back to you, Bob.
What we need to talk about is the outfit that you wear while you're playing the Hello Kitty kit.
I'm learning, so just keep going. I now know what I'm getting you guys for Christmas.
Okay, back to you, Bob. Sorry. I had to.
Of course you did.
How would you describe your relationship with Jeremie and how it got started?
Pay him. Actually, you pay me a lot to be your friend, I think. In fact, you owe me money.
Well, you work cheap.
It was $20.
$20 for 12 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, you work cheap.
So actually,
Are you trying to tell me it's work to be your friend?
He's the guy I call when I have nothing else going on.
Okay, just checking.
So background to Jeremie, I met him. I was a high school leader at East Hill in '89, and that's how I met him. I was in another band called Stigma, and he was one of the groupies. And
Groupie.
joking. He was an early aspiring musician at that point. He was already very good. And him and his brother Ben, they just got to know him. And then eventually we did some business together, which is actually the same field that he's in now. And fast forward, became friends on a different level as far as, just mentorship and what have you. And so it's been great. He's been a great friend.
How about Steve?
Steve. Oh, what do I say about Steve? We go way back to, I think I met him when I was 14, and he played drums in the youth group when I was a kid. At that time, I looked up to him, and his and my story is very interesting in how our relationship developed. At first, I looked up to him, and then when I was a young adult raising my family, I was tired of working 3 jobs. He was running a paint business, and I saw a way out. So I'm like, hey man, can you hire me? So he took me on as a subcontractor and trained me how to do the paint business, which is what I do today.
How has this relationship with Jeremie impacted your life?
Significantly, actually. Part of my personal journey had some life. Didn't have some certain tools in my life to be able to cope, basically, because I didn't came from kind of a tough not childhood, but just then as an adult, just was making some not so healthy choices, and that's how Jeremie and I kind of got connected again, and came to him one day and said, "Look, I need someone to be accountable with or to," and little did I know what that meant exactly. And I'm sure I probably pushed the envelope on that a few times over, times I communicated with him. But his impact in my life, and honestly, as well as yours, Bob. I mean, I know you're the interviewer, but I just, you guys have been pivotal in my life.
We're all on the journey called life.
I know. Darn
The
the life.
mentoring and friendships and all that are
Right?
kind of the spice and support that we all need.
Mm-hmm.
Then when my daughter Tila was born, he got in some trouble with the business, got into a bunch of debt. I think in wages, I racked up about $10,000, and he had to file bankruptcy, which means I wasn't able to get paid. And so that business dissolved. I had to go live with my father-in-law. I lost my apartment. At the same time, my car got stolen. So lost everything. And then fast forward to, I want to say 2011. He calls me because he's aware that I spent many years working in addiction recovery groups. For about 14 years, mainly sexual addiction groups through the church. And then also working on other types of addictions, gambling and, alcohol and all kinds of different things. So he knew I'd been through the process, and he was in a place where he really needed help. And he reached out to me in 2011. It was like Halloween night, and he was in crisis. And so we talked and started this mentoring discipleship. So the roles in our relationship changed from him being the minister that I was looking up to I had gone through many years of developing and healing and growth, and now I became the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And he was struggling. So it was very interesting how that developed. And in that time, obviously, all the debts from the past and everything, I forgave all that, because what's most important to me is people.
Right.
And I understand, I've made mistakes. I have made poor decisions in my life. And the very forgiveness that I want to have, I need to give to others. Otherwise, I'm a hypocrite. So I forgave all that and just said, I'm going to help you. I'm going to work with you. And so we spent many years working on his recovery and his healing process. And you'll see a lot of that during his interview.
What would you say from when you first met Jeremie to where you are now? And More reflective from your point of view. When you first met Jeremie, what did you think and see of him as a person? And overlay that to what you think of him as a person now.
My first thought of Jeremie was his long hair, along with Ben's, and and
That is funny coming from you. You had long hair.
I had long hair as well. I did. But I just remember he just had a really long black hair, and it was striking. And so that was my first thought of him. And like I said, again, just a young budding musician and talented, but I didn't know to what that looked, what extent.
Where did you see the talent? I mean, where did you have a chance to see that?
Jams. Sometimes we would do. I went over to his place, or we'd be in the van, and we would be. He would hear something in a song, and I could just listen to it, the way he was communicating. I could just tell that he had an ear. And then I got to watch him progress. But the really first opportunity that I saw, kind of fast forward, was his Christmas CD. And that was really kind of the first time I'm like, he did all of this. I mean, as a whole, that was your concept. It was your baby. And I know you had other musicians, but I know you also did a lion's share of the recording.
Yeah, that one had the least amount of musicians on it.
Right.
Dan Roberts, played bass. Harvey sang.
Yep.
And then I had Bill and Ben do a couple of parts.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. And that at that point, and that was 2012, I think, 13 is when I first heard that CD. And then I went, he actually kind of knows what he's doing. I mean, not in a negative sense. I mean, it's just like, I went from him knowing that he had an ear, and now I look at him as more of a musician / producer, writer. Mm-hmm. And, so the appreciation of watching him grow was pretty cool.
What does it tell you about him as a person?
Oh, I don't want to answer that. No, actually,
is he at it?
he's meticulous. Trying really hard not to be mean to you.
I encourage you to be yourself.
I go with sarcasm.
Show people who we are.
Oh, well, then the word narcissistic comes to mind.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
No, well, Steve would understand that really well.
That's right. All three of us can.
Birds of a feather. Yeah, so I'm going to, eventually ask us to rate each other on a scale of 1 to 10. We'll see who's the worst.
At understanding or participating?
Well, at narcissism. But I think Bob and I know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
We'll clue you in later.
Okay, good. What was the question?
It's developed to the point where now he's, I think, clean and sober for over 4 years, or coming up on 4 years. He's gotten out of some relationships issues that were toxic for him, and he's now leading Celebrate Recovery classes and giving speeches, and he's healed to the point now where he's helping others.
The question was, I've heard you describe the progression of him musically. Mm-hmm. What about him and your relationship and your viewpoint of him as a person?
Well, kind of back to early on when I first knew him. I mean, he was just a person. I mean, he's just someone that was in the high school group. When he and I started doing paint repair together, I got to see a different side of him, and I saw he really, he didn't know anything about the industry, and he was really just kind of a student to the industry. Everything that I said and I showed him, picked it up immediately. So one of the words that comes to mind is meticulous with him. He is very deliberate about what he does, his thought process, how he moves from point A to point B. Sometimes he over communicates it, which is not a negative because I have a tendency to do that as well. But that means he's very thorough about what he's trying to communicate. And even when he's wanting to hear something or he sees something or the way he communicates to somebody, he's very thoughtful about it. So I've watched this person be this long-haired hippie freak to now just really this kind of this nice guy that owes me money. So 20
A
bucks.
short-haired freak.
That's good. On the over communication, I agree. And I know you know that too.
Oh, yeah.
And part of that for me,
16 hours worth.
Really? Was it 16 hours?
would you agree that part of it is living in a culture where 95% of the time you're misunderstood?
Yep.
I'd say that's part of it, but I'd also say the three of us, it's not a drive to be heard, it's a drive to be understood.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
the core of that whole thing.
And most people don't clarify, and so when you can tell that or you perceive they're not understanding, then communicating it different ways to hopefully clarify because they're not asking for clarification.
And
Right.
it's an art form,
Yeah.
changing every 2 to 3 seconds,
Yeah. But it's like
depending on who you're around.
it's like what you said, making sure that what the communication is being understood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned you heard one of the benchmarks was you heard his Christmas album.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard his other album, The Light in the Storm?
Oh no, I don't listen to anything past that.
Okay.
Yes,
we'll
it was
have to
actually
get
good.
him a copy.
Actually, what was the song that John Pierre? It was kind of a little bit more upbeat.
Latin groove.
Yeah, not the one that you
Let
just have
God
a-
arise.
Yeah, Let God Arise. I was pretty impressed with that actually.
Yeah, I was too.
Just the overall musicianship, but just the way it was put together. That again kind of raised that bar level of professionalism I see.
I don't have the musicality you two got, but early in our relationship, he was just finishing The Light in the Storm.
Mm-hmm.
And I have friends that know music
Mm-hmm.
and slipped it in on them. They're going, whoa.
Yeah.
So then I have a tribe over in Sweden from work,
Mm-hmm.
and they love just new music.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the guys we hooked up a lot for business things. So popped that in and goes, I want that. And I go, okay. Ended up sending how many cases?
I don't remember how many cases. I think it was like
It was
300 CDs or something.
yeah.
Wow.
Over there,
And where's over there?
mostly Stockholm,
Okay.
and they distribute them through musical friends, through
That's cool.
house meetings,
I didn't
all
know
over
about
the
that.
place. And they're excited to hear he's got another album coming.
Nice.
Key people. So a lot of people have picked up on what you heard early and saw develop. What do you think of him? What's different about him musically and what he does.
I was just thinking about that. As opposed to a lot of people are very vocal driven, lyrics and what have you, he has no problem making instrumentals. And in today's society, since we're talking about short attention span, a lot of people are like, oh, it's just an acoustic, playing, and,
Yeah.
I got to go do something else. But, back to the Christmas album and even the Light in the Storm, there was songs on there that was just lead guitar driven. So I appreciate the fact that he is not afraid to do both sides of that. And with being able to play an upbeat song and basically sometimes there's no words, which is not something that you just really hear anymore.
So there's a little bit of the basic backstory with Steve and I, and we're going to go back into that a little more later on in this episode. But for right now, listen to what Steve has to say as he begins to talk about his participation in this album and the song that he recorded on. Take a look.
On his current project, what did you think when you heard Forever Hallelujah?
It's kind of the version of a straight ahead rock, but it was, it opens up very ethereal, which is a real common theme in some of his songs. I like that, actually. Kind of back to what we were just saying. Everybody wants to hear the lyrics and get it in, get it out. Let's make it radio, 3.5 minutes. And, he's not afraid to create some sort of foundation to the song. Right. And so the song that I was on, when I was able to come in and actually play, it emphasized the foundation. And that's why I say kind of that straight ahead rock, because it's an open force style. And I like that, actually. It was the way it was produced, put together.
So how you came in to work on this project? Did you hear the song first and then get invited, or get invited and hear the song?
Gosh, I don't remember. That was so 3 years ago.
Brain fog.
Yeah.
I remember. Of course, this being my project, I'm intimately familiar with all the details. Right? Yeah, narcissist. So it seems like I tend to remember all these details that people are like, oh yeah. It's weird.
Consider the source.
I wrote the song in 2008.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that, actually.
So that was while I was in production on A Light in the Storm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I knew the song was too big to produce for that album, that it was going to take a lot of work, a lot of time. And so at that time, while I was producing A Light in the Storm, I was thinking about the musicians I wanted to bring into that particular tune for this project. Here we are, 12 years now. And I knew I wanted to have you play all the way back then. And I think we started talking about it probably 2 years before you actually heard the tune.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
But see, I got injured in 2015, and so that was also part of the challenge. Is that so that song that I played was I had not played for about a year, and then I played that song, and then I didn't play again for 3 years.
What emotions did you go through and feel when you were asked to play in the project?
Trepidation. I was afraid.
Bigger words.
Big word? Small word? I was scared.
What was,
I did.
what was going on with you emotionally, and then what was your internal voice saying?
Well, emotionally, I was honored that it was asked. I mean, I love being in the studio. I love playing music. I love playing drums, but my skill level was not where I wanted it to be. So, to answer the other part, it's like, though I was excited, I just didn't know how if I was actually gonna be able to pull it off effectively. So, but I was willing because I was asked.
Where were you at spiritually with all that?
Spiritually, 2019.
I think I don't know how we interpret that, but I got the message.
It was. I was going through a journey. I was going through a journey. No, I mean that was post treatment, but that was a rough emotional space for me during that time.
Connected to your spirit?
Yes.
Is it to go back to what you said earlier, the trepidation you felt?
Mm-hmm.
Was that connected to that or disconnected?
Yes. No, it was the trepidation was that, like I had stated, I wanted to play it well, but I just didn't know if I can get my body to play what he wanted me to play, even though it was pretty straightforward. I just really hadn't picked up sticks and played for a year. Yeah. But I was willing.
Cool. Did you throw it up to God?
Probably no, not at that time, no. Yeah. So I'm going to pop in here real quick and clarify. When Steve says, probably didn't throw it up to God at that point, I know there are some people out there that are thinking, oh my gosh, Jeremie, this is God's music and this is worship music. How can you involve people that aren't speaking with God or that aren't in a close relationship with Him? It's kind of that Pharisee perspective. Jesus, why are you hanging with the sinners and tax collectors? And I find that God does some of His greatest work through broken people like us. And it is no different with Steve. And in that season, we were working on his development. There was wounds in his past. There was addictions, alcoholism, and whatnot. And we were working through all of that and learning how to trust God, learning to hear His voice, learning to rely on Him. So I think what Steve is meaning here is that's not where I was at that time. He wasn't there yet. And I applaud him for his authenticity and transparency. And so with that, let's move on to the next segment.
So when we get to the recording, you actively participating, 2019?
Yeah, it was November 2019.
What's the difference other than you having the sticks in your hand and doing it? What's the difference of the space you were holding emotionally and spiritually? I mean, what got you in there doing it?
I was willing because he asked. He asked me, so I was honored, and I'm going to do it. But emotionally, spiritually, I didn't have a drum set. I was borrowing a piece of crap. I shouldn't have said that. Shoot. It was an okay drum set, but Clark, bless his heart, tried to.
Oh, you're not referring to the piece for the recording, but what you had at home you were borrowing, is that
yeah,
right?
the kit that I was borrowing.
Yeah.
Clark spent, I don't know, how long did you spend? Like a half hour trying to get to MIDI up? And just so you can get it to the output would actually be in the recording. So there was some angst on that end as well, because this is all I had to provide. I didn't have anything else. I had shells at home, but I had no cymbals, no throne, I had nothing. So again, kind of going back into this, like, here I am. I haven't played. I got this drum set that's not really mine, and I'll do the best I can.
Right.
Sweet.
And that is kind of why we did the video shoot, isn't it?
What do you mean?
Because we were using an electric kit.
Yep.
For the actual recording.
Yes.
And it was.
And then we did a fake air drum.
Right.
At the bar cave.
Air drum.
Which actually wasn't fake, because you physically you played it.
I did play it, yeah.
Oh, we're back to live.
It's just not the actual.
Yeah, it was really actually live.
Yeah, so you did play it, but it was a reenactment,
yeah,
so to speak.
A reenactment.
Ben and I do the same thing with the electric guitars.
A reenactment of the reenactment.
Right?
Yeah, because our initial recordings weren't even captured on video. It was done in my living room while it was snowing outside, and we had the fire going, and we just spent the whole day doing it.
There you go, perfect.
Because we had no video, we had to capture something.
Right.
So, okay, so I want to explain to you a little bit about Steve's video shoot, and frankly, all of the music video shoots. As I mentioned in the last episode, Ben and I did not have the footage to pull video from to make the music video for our portion in that performance. And we've had that happen with Ben on Let God Arise, and then again with Ben and I on Forever Hallelujah. It's actually very common. It's not often that musicians will produce a music video solely off of the studio performances. Usually the way it's done is after the studio performances, when they're in their hoodie sweaters and sweatpants and doing their actual recordings, then on a separate day they will dress up real nice, get their hair perfect, get all, for the ladies, get all their makeup perfect and everything just so, and they'll pick different environments and scenes, maybe from a mountaintop to the roof of a building to a warehouse somewhere, and they'll flip from different shots to different shots. All of that is done post-production on the music. So when they have the finished tune, the way you do it is you sing along to that finished song. So let's say you take the MP3, you buy it on iTunes, if you're going to do something like this, and now you have the professional mix done by somebody. You basically play it on a stereo of some kind so you can hear it. And whether you're singing or playing guitar or playing drums or whatever instrument you're involved in, you sing along or play along with that song that's playing on the stereo. And that allows for all of your movements visually to sync perfectly with what's going on with the audio. And so musicians who are making music videos will take all of that footage and they'll do take after take after take after take and get the perfect visual shots that they want, and then in the editing process sync it all together to create a music video, and so that's really the purpose for music videos. Now, that being said, we did that with Steve because, like he said, we were using an electric drum kit, and visually it's not very exciting to look at an electric drum kit. Nothing like it is to look at an acoustic drum kit. And so let me show you what that electric kit looked like when he came into the studio in November of 2019. Check it out. Alright, so basically what you got going on here is Steve playing on the electric drum kit, and as you can see, you got kind of those rubber pads that he's playing on there, and not very good to look at. Also, when you listen to the sound of these electric drum kits goes through the mixing board digitally. So when you're in the booth, like Steve is here, this is all you hear if you do not have headphones or earbuds on. Take a listen.
Oh my no, it's just done.
So now let's listen to what Steve is actually hearing in his earbuds as he's performing. This is an unfinished mix with some basic dry drums, but it shows you that when he hits those rubber pads, that the digital sound is much better than what you're just hearing in the room. Take a look. Okay, so I just got here to Steve's place. Steve is the guy playing drums on Forever Hallelujah, and already got his recording session done, and so what we're doing today is the video shoot for the music video. So I gotta say, the drive here, Portland traffic in the morning sometimes really sucks. So just got here, took an hour and a half to get from Mount Tabor over here to Beaverton. And from here, we're heading out to Washington, where the studio is and where the drum kit is, where we're doing the shoot. So I'm going to get Steve and we're going to head out. All right, we are recording.
We are recording?
Yeah.
What is up?
Hey, Steve, how you doing?
I got coffeeed up. I'm ready to go.
All right, tell everybody what we're doing this morning.
We are going to go rob a bank. And, wrong plans. No, we're actually going to
No,
be...
that's Friday.
Oh, that's Friday?
Okay, yeah, no, today.
Today.
Thursday.
Oh, okay. We're going to be going to the Bart Cave and seeing Mr. Hafman, and he has graciously allowed us to use his drums to work on the latest song by Mr. Jeremie Heston. And we're going to go over there, we're going to beat on some skins, and it's going to be a blast.
Cool. Bart's in a band, right?
Hit Machine.
Hit Machine.
Yep.
This should be fun.
It will be fun. It'll be a blast. In fact, we'll probably even get to see him too.
Cool. That'd be ideal. Okay, so one thing about where we're located is it's very common for us to skip from one state to the other. So like right now we're in Beaverton, Oregon, and we're heading to Scappoose, Washington.
No, Oregon.
Oregon?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we were crossing the border.
Oh no.
Oh, my bad. I thought we were going to Washington.
We're going to Oregon. Scappoose, Oregon.
Okay, scratch that. But I'm going to keep this footage because it shows you that we're human and we make mistakes, and it's all good.
No perfect people allowed, baby.
No way. So, we're on our way.
All right, do it.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
I just want to capture what a gorgeous drive this is.
It is a gorgeous drive, especially that semi. That log truck right there. Isn't that beautiful?
That's gorgeous. maybe you can get the trees out of
Trees? Nice, baby.
drive.
It is a gorgeous drive.
That's
Awesome. All right.
So one of the things that's kind of cool, and Steve said it's cool to share this, is if you notice from the studio footage when we were recording his drum session, he looked a little heavier. What's changed?
I lost weight. At that time, I was about 355 pounds, and as of today, I'm 258, despite the fact of my ankle injury.
Yeah, look at this, man. Got his sexy back.
I'm too sexy for this shit.
Yeah. I do my little shake on the catwalk.
That's right.
Yeah. Got a couple of sexy Christians here.
That's right.
Alright. Alright, we just arrived and the studio's downstairs, yeah?
Yes, sir.
Alright, so we're gonna head in and see what's going on down there. I've never been here before, so this should be fun.
It'll be a blast. The Bark Cave.
Alright, here we go.
Good to see you.
Jeremy, this is Bart.
Jeremy.
Hey, how you doing,
Nice to
man?
meet you, man.
So Jeremy and Bob Pike have been my mentors for years.
Okay.
So that's how you know. Hi. That's how you'll know association.
Okay.
Bob and him have been leading men's groups for years.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he's been saying I should meet you for a while now.
Yeah?
And then Steve and I are like trying to get a drum kit, and he's like, "Oh, we're going to this guy named Bart." I'm like, "What an interesting coincidence."
There you go.
So here we are.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
So while we were setting things up and getting the drums ready, getting the cameras ready, Bart had a funny little story to share. So check it out.
It's, it's actually kind of funny.
What?
I have like this, with Dan and everything like that. Dan Reed.
Yeah.
I ran across Rob Baker's Instagram page the other day. There's this video from about a year and a half ago where he was like super, super nervous to go on stage. He was pretending to be super nervous. He was talking to Dan. It's like, Dan, I don't know what to do. I'm just super, super nervous right now. I don't know. He's like, could you just kick me in the balls? And so then they go in fast motion, and it shows Dan's like go, pow! And kick him, and he goes, oh! There's sound effects in it, and I was like, dude, that is one of the funniest things I've seen in a long time. That's hilarious.
Well, if you think that's funny, then when we finish up, I got a prank I played on another drummer of mine that I got to show you.
Oh, yeah.
It's hilarious.
Oh yeah, it's good.
I'm just gonna do this footage. Okay.
Okay, so I'm real quickly going to show you the setup that we're using to film Steve's drum performance for the music video. So here we have one camera angle on this stand here. Then we have camera angle number 2. And then we have down here camera angle number 3.
What's
Yeah,
camera number 3?
yeah, and
Which
then
are all phones, by the way.
they're all phones. And then once we get his performance done, then we're just going to come right over here and probably take that camera that's down there,
That one.
and we're going to just set up one more shot to get a few kick shots.
My
Boot.
Boot.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that boot later.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Darn boot.
I'll try and shave off the top of the boot so you're just seeing like your
As long as it
toe.
makes it look sexy, that's all that matters. Sexy boot.
How could it not be sexy?
I don't know, you know.
It's Steve Quick here, you know.
Steve Quick sexy boot.
You are too sexy for your boot.
Bring in sexy boo.
I'm too sexy for my boot. All right, here we go.
I'm gonna do that for one more time.
It's Angus. Hey, Angus.
You're gonna sit down. Angus, sit. Sit.
Yeah.
Stay.
Well, thanks for your help today, Steve.
Hey, happy to do it. Woo!
Yeah.
Got Mr. A out here.
Next time we'll put him on the drums, hey?
There you go. Probably do just as good.
Take care.
Come in.
All right, I got my car running, and I'm just now leaving Steve's. So, from when I left my house at 7:30 this morning until now, when I picked up Steve, we went out, did the video shoot, and now I just dropped him off, and I gotta head back to my place. So that's going to be another hour. So figure I get home about 1:30. So it's about 6 hours it took, and lots of driving for an 8-minute video. And when the editing is done, we'll just have, you know, little spots where you see today's shoot. There's also other musicians, of course, singers, all kinds of stuff. So yeah, that's what it takes to put these videos together. So imagine what I just did here with Steve. Imagine doing that with, you know, 6 or 7 other musicians for a song. It's quite a project, just putting a music video together, an 8-minute music video. So I'm gonna head out and get on the road so I can get back to my place and start doing some editing. Ciao. So during Steve's 2019 recording session and during his video shoot in April of 2022, Steve was actually in a lot of physical pain. So listen to what Steve has to say about why he was in so much pain.
During that, on a scale of 1 to 10, with your pain, where were we?
8.5, constant, 24/7.
Eesh.
I was always in pain. Always.
I remember that. It was difficult.
It was when I think you ended up helping me get out of here because I couldn't hardly even walk up the stairs by the time I was done.
Right, I remember that. And I noticed we haven't even mentioned what actually happened to your ankle and why you were in pain. What happened?
Do you want me to tell you?
Tell the people.
Tell the people?
Yeah.
I was born at a young age.
You are.
Oh.
You are a smartass, you know.
You are. Yes, you are.
Yes.
Now let him talk about the pain.
It was better than being a dumbass.
That's right. Smart asses are much better than dumbasses.
Yeah, I'll live with it. Okay, so what happened to your ankle?
So I was doing loadout for Fleetwood Mac in 2015 at the Moda Center. 1,000-pound speaker took out my left ankle, which still needs surgery, but doesn't hurt as much. But workman's comp, 5 years later, ankle favoring, and it was already chronic and bad. After 5 years, my ankle gave out. And so now I have 2 feet that need surgery. We did the first surgery, literally, was it 2 weeks after I did the recording with you?
Right,
Yeah.
right. So
And-
you were in a lot of pain during that actual studio session.
Yep. And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of drugged myself up to be able to do it. It was a lot of ibuprofen, a lot of other kind of medication. Just I had to get through the session, and it was not easy. So, and that's the last time I played.
other than the video shoot.
I'm gonna say
Well, the video shoot, but that's 3 years later.
3 years, 3 year gap.
Right.
Yeah, it was a 3 year gap. You know, I played, you know, you asked me about instruments. I played the cajon, I played percussion, but I couldn't play the drums.
So now let's shift gears and listen to Steve talk about his experience coming into the studio. Check it out.
What were your thoughts and emotions that you experienced hearing the latest work with your part in it?
Well, from a professional standpoint, I want to make sure that I played it well. You know, if I put the professional hat on, and I thought I did okay. I mean, I know there was mistakes. I know that they fixed a few things, and I get it. It's part of recording, but I just want to, you know, at least give them a good enough base, you know, that they can manipulate it. But other than that, I enjoyed it. It was fun, you know. I mean, this is probably the 15th, 17th time that I've been in the studio. I enjoy being in the studio. The fun of the perfectionism of it and being able to really play and play well and hear it develop and grow. It's really fun. I enjoy it.
What would you say is this trip into the studio? What was that like versus previous trips, with or without Jeremie?
Well, previous trips to now, this one, there was a huge physical gap, you know, because I wasn't at my professional level. In the past, I could just walk in the studio and play and not even think about it. I had to put a lot of thought into this. And at the same time, I didn't have a drum set. So I'm mentally playing this song in my head or on a lazy boy, trying to recreate, create a song with no drums. So it was far different than times past. You know, I walk in, I've got a kit, I'm effective, I'm efficient, you know, one take, maybe two, and I was out. You know, this was a lot different.
What's your overall, I'm not gonna say, what's your overall experience working with Jeremie? What is it like with him?
I'm not allowed to say it on the camera, though.
Yeah, you can.
Oh.
We'll edit it. As much as we can.
Well, you know, he's in recovery too, right? Okay. No, my overall impression of working with Jeremie is, you know, I listened to him like when he did The Light in the Storm, and listened to the way he communicated with musicians and what he was trying to convey to them, and kind of back to that, not necessarily over communicating, but just really effectively communicating what he wants and what he hears in his head. And when I got in the studio, he did the same thing.
Here it comes. Again.
Let's do it again.
Again.
Oh, too soon. Is that too soon?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm just gonna hear it.
Yep. Get ready to cut on my words. Clark, get ready to cut. Okay. Now we're going to work.
I thought it was a stop. Sorry,
No.
I didn't mean to stop.
I had to yell at Clark because he had his ears on. So now we're getting to the big fill that does the key change. And this is where we already worked on this area.
Right.
Okay. So now we move past this to the next section. Stop. Just do the hi-hat piece. Nope. It's yes. And the last hit has to be. No, you're doing it right. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Okay, let's do a take. Good.
You know, it just wasn't degrading. It was like I had this vision. I want to see let's see what we can do with this. In fact, I think at one point you told me when I got out of the rim shot and I'm open, he says, I want you to play it like, I think you said Warrant or something. I don't remember exactly what you said. I wanted a straight open 4 style, really, just play it solid. And, so it gave me a good visual representation of what he wanted me to do. So great to work with.
How's that different than other experiences in studio?
I would say, as I'm trying to comb through memories of, I'm not going to talk about from bands that I was in. I'll talk about, like a walk-in like this. I had an opportunity to practice, and they say, this is what I want, this is what I want to hear. They might give me some direction, the style of drummer, I want it to sound like this. But then when I came in, I just set up my stuff, played, and I left. He's much more hands-on than everyone else that I've ever worked with, that was outside of a band.
Pause it. Let's just practice this together. Like, let's pretend we're children and we're learning the drum. So
It's been so long.
it's all right. That's what you're doing. Okay. Try it again. Without the music, try it. Just try doing the fill without the music.
What?
Just try doing it without the music.
Oh.
Let's get the fill down so you got it in your muscle memory.
So it's 1, 2. Oh.
Try. Yep. Close. Dun 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 dun. Close. Nope.
Oh, dun, dun, dun.
Symbol. Got it. Yep. And then right after that, you'll go to the symbol and do the shh, the swell. One of the things I really appreciate about Steve is the tenacity and spirit that he has to overcome. And like all people who are pursuing a passion or joining with friends to pursue a passion or a goal, is we all have to overcome hurdles and obstacles to see it through. That could be relational, that could be financial, emotional, spiritual, you could be struggling with an addiction, on and on. A death in the family. I mean, the list is endless. And the thing that is consistent with humanity is there's always going to be challenges. Listen to Steve as he talks about a couple of those challenges here. You know, you say practice. I remember a conversation we had over the phone when I sent you the mix and said, here's what you need to practice to.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't have a drum kit at the time.
Got a laser boy.
So how were you practicing at home?
I was hitting a lazy boy and
Yeah.
a pillow.
Yeah. And I've done that before too. I was doing an audition myself to play drums at East Hill a while back. This was back in 2010, 2011-ish, somewhere in there. I didn't have a drum kit at my house, and he wanted me to audition to some songs. So I basically had my 2 feet on the floor, and I had my air sticks, and I would actually intentionally hit my leg so I could feel it, so that I would get the muscle memory. And over here, I think I had set something up so I could feel it hit, and that's part of the muscle memory of a drummer is you're feeling it hit. So I got, my feet pop in and doing this, and I went and I nailed the audition, and he had me play the next week.
Speaking of East Hill, it kind of going back to being in my, that's what I'm looking for, my level of playing at that time. Santana's Supernatural, back in the time, I could play that whole album front to back. And so when I interviewed actually with Jean-Pierre and Susan, they said, well, what are you listening to right now? And I said, well, I'm listening to Supernatural. And so he played the hardest time signature on that CD, and I'm playing it. And he looked at Susan, and he looked at me, and then they looked at me like, oh, I guess you can play.
Yeah. Yeah. I think my first impression is, this guy's a freak.
You?
No, you.
Oh.
But in a good way. Freak of nature, super talented. I loved you playing drums at the youth center when I was a kid.
Thank you.
I loved watching that. It's one of the things that inspired me to be more of a musician. At that point in life, I actually looked up to you as a role model.
Well, you were shorter.
Yeah. Well, no, I've been 6'4" since I was 12, so you actually can't say that. But it seemed that way because you were on the stage and I was down on the floor.
Oh, okay, got it.
But during that time when I was this young, impressionable kid, and you were like 26 or something like that, and you're playing in bands and stuff, and so as a kid, I'm looking up to this guy and thinking, man, I want to do that.
And at that point, I'd only been playing about a year and a half.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're good. You're still good.
Yeah. 89 is actually, 88 is when I picked up drums.
Yeah. Interesting how our relationship has developed over the years.
Absolutely.
You spoke into my life at that time, and then as we separated, and then God brought us back together years later, and now used me to speak into your life.
Yeah.
It's just cool to watch God work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Never a dull moment. You've been around Clark a bit?
Twice, maybe 3.
What is your impression, and what do you find interesting and good about Clark in the
Clark?
studio? Yeah.
Doesn't talk a lot? No, I'm just joking. No, actually, back to the makeshift drum set that I had brought into the studio. I have to defend, it is a good drum set, but it's not made for a studio. And so you talk about Clark, he made it work. I mean, this was an engineering genius making it happen, and I was impressed actually that he was able to not only make it get the output, but actually have it sound halfway decent, for an electric drum set. So I appreciate his engineering and his ear.
Hey, Clark, have you done something with your hair since the last time we were in the studio?
No, this happened the last time we were in the studio.
Okay. Just checking.
Tore it all out.
He tore it all out. Yeah, I remember. So on the day that Steve and I showed up to do his interview, a little over 2.5 years after his 2019 studio performance, we showed up about 15-20 minutes early, and we were waiting for Bob to arrive to give Steve's interview. So during that time, we had a little bit of downtime to just kind of chat, and so I had him sit in my van. One of the things that I do with musicians or just everyday common folk is I will show different stages of development in tunes to people and just kind of get their take on it. It gives me ideas. Sometimes people will say, oh, I really like this, or that doesn't sound really good, and so feedback is good in the developmental process. So if you remember back to episode 1, the tune It's Okay to Have Fun with Leah, myself, and Jean-Pierre, well, I showed that mix to Steve before their parts were recorded, just to get his take on it and kind of show him, here's what I'm thinking with Leah, and here's what I'm thinking with Jean-Pierre. And so he comments on that in this segment of the interview. So take a look.
Why do you think all 3 albums, will focus on the current one, why do you think there's such an emotional effect on people? I mean, it does me. Does it affect you at an emotional, spiritual place?
It does, actually, and that's kind of what I was talking about earlier, is that he wasn't afraid to not necessarily play songs with lyrics, so that there was this open space to be able to feel, experience the actual song. And you take the Christmas album, for example. It was Christmas songs. I mean, some of them were Christmas songs. I'm trying to recall the entire CD, but at the end of the day, I wasn't really listening to Christmas music. I was listening to this sound that was coming through, and it put me really kind of in this serene place. And I appreciated that.
What do you think this current album's going to accomplish? Or what do you hope it accomplishes?
I actually haven't heard a lot of the music. I've heard some of it, but kind of the same. I want to say that from a technical standpoint, it's much more complicated in music. But like, even when he was just having me listen to a song in the van before we were walking in, and the professionalism and the space in the song, and he's like, okay, I just added this bass line for the bass player to be able to go, but this is what I hear in this. And he's a producer in that sense. So this new album almost is a repeat of part 1 and 2 of his other projects, but it has that same feel, but it's just from a musician standpoint, it's much more polished, even though that it still has that same feel. I've watched his music ability and producing and writing continue to grow, and so there's 2 fronts on that I appreciate.
So we're raising the bar again, is what's coming across.
Raising the bar. Yeah. Yes. Raising the bar. You make it stop again?
Yep, I'm gonna do it. Stop.
He's staring at the phone too long.
So now we're going to hear Steve talk about his reflection of what his journey has been like, and going through that injury and looking back what it has done for him. So take a look at this.
As far as where you are now, with your abilities coming out of your injuries and stuff, are you 80% of where you imagined? 12%?
As far as my drumming or
Your abilities compared to what you did pre-injury?
Well, it allowed me to be able to learn new instruments. Percussion was never really a thing for me. Playing the cajon was never a thing for me. I never even played them before. So it allowed me to do different things and different instruments, so I can still be able to kind of get that itch, taken care of a little bit. But, and actually, you asked me at the beginning of this interview, what instruments do you play? Well, I actually talked to a friend of mine named Steve, and I said, man, I want to learn how to play the acoustic.
Oh.
So I never would have thought that way before because I was the drummer. And now I'm expanding that thought process. So it's actually been in, the hindsight, it's been a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. Enhancing.
Yeah. I mean, like last night, what? Make it stop again?
No, I had a question for you. Well, you're talking about this guy, Steve, you're talking to. I'm wondering which personality this is.
I cannot confirm nor deny which one that is. He's on Tuesday.
Okay. How much time passed in between your last conversations that you have no memory of? I'm just kidding.
I'm not going to really tell you that. I need to alter myself first.
So you're okay then, overall, and so are you.
Hey, we're all fine, thanks.
Sweet.
We got it.
I'm not schizophrenic. We're all fine.
Yeah, I just can imagine.
We're all thinking the same thing, kind of.
Sometimes.
Yeah. So when you're upstairs and you hear people talking downstairs, this wonderful conversation, you go downstairs and it's just one person.
It sounds like a problem you're having again. Do we need to have you need to have the medication?
There's the projection. Oh, we got a lot of work to do,
Yeah.
but yeah. Okay, I digress again. Sorry. Back to you, Bob.
We thought we had gone so far.
I know.
He's learned a lot, though.
About him? Yeah. Narcissistic and projects.
His excuses and rationalizations are getting better.
Yeah. Getting tougher
I
to
learn from the
detect.
best.
Yeah. Well, so do I.
The leader of the pack.
It's a compliment that you don't want to accept.
Well, you're not speaking to the right one.
Thanks.
Dude, I'm on the Thursday personality. Come on.
Oh, it's Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay,
The
good.
one you were referencing was on Tuesday.
Oh,
Yeah.
the
And the
Tuesday
Friday
Steve.
one.
The Tuesday
The
Steve.
Friday one's tough to manage.
No, Steve actually is Steve Jordan. He plays acoustic and leads worship at Westside, and we were just chatting. Actually, it was about 2 weeks ago, and I said, "How hard?" Because Sadie, I've been hauling around Sadie's acoustic now for about 3 years, and I keep telling her, "Come pick up your acoustic."
Your
She's like-
daughter.
My daughter, yeah. And she's like, "Oh, I will." I'm like, "Screw it. I'm gonna start playing this thing." And so about 2 weeks ago, I said, "Will you teach me?" He goes, "Yeah, I'd be happy to." So we haven't got it on the books yet, but yeah, it's gonna happen.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Okay, so in this next segment, the interview went in a direction that I had not expected, but I have learned that as people begin to open up and express themselves, you just go with it. But I am going to say up front that not everybody viewing may be ready for this level of transparency, authenticity, and vulnerability. And so we will be talking about addictions in this segment. And for some people, you might not be ready for that. So I'm actually going to throw up a disclaimer here. Proceed into this next scene at your own discretion. I feel it's good, and I believe God can be glorified through this, but you're also going to see a different side of both Steve and Bob and myself that you may have never seen at this point in the entire video series. So you've been warned. So let's get to it.
Bringing this to a close,
Okay.
is there anything you feel we haven't covered that you would like to?
We can't talk about it.
And anything you'd like to say to Jeremie?
Oh man, Do I have to be mushy?
It's one of your personalities got to step up.
Well, okay, that would be the nice one. Okay, nice personality. All right, that's the Saturday one.
Okay, so this is a new one.
It is.
Okay.
We haven't seen this
I'm
one
ready
before.
to see this one. Believe me, after all these years,
Okay.
we'll put this on the list. Number 32.
No,
Saturday.
Okay.
Nice one.
I mean, in respect to the studio project, you know, I just really appreciate that he invited me in. I mean, he works with some pretty caliber musicians, and at that time I felt very inferior. I mean, we kind of alluded to it throughout this interview, and he didn't care. You know, one thing I appreciate about Jeremie is that he looks past the 32 personalities and he looks at the heart. And watching him communicate with other people over the years, you know, the guys that he works with, except for those select few, they're, you know, and that's not him, it's them.
It's
There's a great an endearment about him, and it's been a hell of a journey with me personally. And there have been times that I called you way past a baker's dozen in a day, and you know, he just took my call. And in fact, I don't know if I should even bring this up, but there was a point where I was homeless. And it was in October, it was late October, and, you know, he would call me and we would talk, and he says, okay, tonight's weather is going to be XYZ. And this was the first night that it was raining. The weather had been pretty nice up to that point. And I'm staring outside, I'm looking at this rain, and even though that he created a boundary that evening, his heart was still there. And the reason I bring this up is because I'm actually talking to a guy right now that is on the verge of being homeless. And due to his life choices. And I shared that story with him. And I remember that day like yesterday.
I do too. You're like calling me in, and I'm in a cardboard dumpster right now. It's pouring down rain.
Yeah.
And my heart's torn.
Yeah.
And I got the wife. I got the kids.
Yeah.
I got the granddaughter.
Yeah.
And lots of people that I'm mentoring and discipling. And so,
Yep.
like you said, the boundary, it's like, well, I can't take people in, but I'll stay on the phone.
Yep.
We'll talk through this.
Yep.
And yeah, and many, many things, through the alcoholism, through just all the stuff.
Yeah.
And my stuff too.
Yeah.
These relationships are life-giving.
Yeah.
I just don't know how people survive without them. In fact, that's all they
you
do
gotta
is
have 'em.
survive. They don't live. They just survive,
Just survive.
barely.
Yeah. You know, and he was just there.
Yeah.
You know, even if it was just a phone call, he was just there.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
you know, sometimes I held on to that phone call. That's all I
Yeah,
had.
I'm sure.
And on a not so mushy note, he's a pain in my ass, but I like him, you know. So
Yeah. We've gone places where most religious people can't.
that is correct.
Amen.
That is correct.
Something that strikes me with his detail and his care, and you put that all in the same ball. Early in our relationship, he had the heart, had the attitude, had the creds and all that. And we were out for coffee maybe 6 months into this, 8 months. And I was going through, the things that are the monikers of an addict.
Right.
And I went through the list and I go, do you think you have that? No. And went through the list and I didn't see anything that would witness to it and didn't hear it from him. And I just kind of folded it up and I go, I think you're cured.
Right. Well, a little backstory to that. I was in a men's group, for men only type group,
I remember.
because of sexual addiction
Right.
that I had struggled with since I was a small child.
Right.
Pornography and
Right.
all the self-love that comes with that. And so I think I was in that group for 14 years.
Yep, you were.
And with those types of process-oriented groups, there's no exit strategy. The
Right.
consensus is, you're an addict, you're always going to be an addict. And you need a group like this for the rest of your life. You're always going to struggle. And I somehow remember reading in the Bible, by his stripes we're healed. So I'm not sure how that lines up with once you're an addict, you're always going to be an addict. So,
It's a subline.
where's the room for
Footnote
we can
4.
actually we can grow past our demons? Where's the room for that?
Right.
I think it's assumptive and arrogant and foolish to say you will always struggle the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I think, and I will say it clearly, I think that is bullshit. I think that if we work on the beliefs and the wounds and the things that are driving all of those things, and we bring in new reference over time, those things can heal. And once those drivers are gone, there's no longer the need for those coping mechanisms because it's been resolved.
Well, and some of the
And
things.
so that's kind of what Bob was saying is he took me through the list of what the process said. You need to go through this and this and this and this and this and this before
Right.
you're healthy. And we went through all that. I was no longer struggling with those things. And it was kind of like, why am I still going to this group? Simply because there's no exit strategy. So I'm going to make one. I love you guys.
I'm out.
Moving on. Bye-bye.
That was my conundrum. Is the feedback I was getting was it was so disjointed. I'm attending this, and yeah, I had a indiscretion with a hooker and
Right.
found out my relationship with my ex was way. I mean, it's the equivalent. I found out how bad it was, and
Right.
part of the church's recommendation was I needed to go to a sexual addictive. And I'm like,
Right.
okay. And I wasn't kicking and screaming, but I wasn't convinced I had that problem. So the feedback I was getting on a right, Bob, you're too outbound. You care about other people too much. We're not hearing about your masturbating. We're not hearing about your all that. And I go, I don't do that.
Yeah.
So then I started thinking, how do I get out of this place? I started asking those questions, and after about 4 people at various levels, I'm like, there is no exit.
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah, and so I took Bob through that same list of, because I knew the process well. I'd been doing it
Yeah,
14
right,
years, and so I
right.
was like, okay, do you struggle with masturbation? Do you struggle
Right.
with pornography? Do you struggle with yada yada? I took him down the list. He wasn't entertaining any of those things.
Right.
Never had.
Right.
It was just kind of a one-time
Right.
blip in his life. So I'm like, why are you in this group? You're not an addict. Because I think there was this kind of
protocol.
protocol. This, well, he saw a prostitute, so this is where we put people like that.
Right.
He must be a sex addict if he did
Something's
something like
wrong.
that. So, it's like you get drunk once, but you never touch it before, never touch it. So all of a sudden, you're an alcoholic because you had one night where you binged and got drunk.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. So that's how we met,
Well,
and that's kind of why we're all together.
and I've talked to people that disagree with my concept, and it kind of, to fishtail off of that, one of his addictions was gambling. So I said, okay, we'll see.
Oh, I remember this.
We'll see
Yeah,
if he's cured.
I was a gambling addict too.
Yeah, I remember this.
Yeah, well, I grew up in abuse, so I was pretty bad, just like you.
Yeah.
I was screwed
So I
up.
said, okay, we'll see if he's cured. Because how I was brought up, if you're cured of whatever, you can go back to the nemesis and walk away from it. Mm-hmm. So I forget, it was a slot machine
Yeah, something
somewhere,
like that.
like in a Sherry's or
And
something.
I religiously said, I've never played a
never-
slot machine for like 16 years or 14 years. I haven't touched
I
it.
remember this conversation
said-
actually.
Okay, we're busting that one right now.
Yeah, he's like, how do you know you're healed? You're healed if you haven't
If you
tested
don't
it.
touch it.
Right.
So we tested it.
Yep.
Put in.
Which is totally against protocol.
I know.
Oh, yeah,
in
absolutely.
general
Yeah,
society.
in general society. But
Yeah.
how do you know if you're healed if you don't verify it?
Right.
So I put, I think, $10 in a machine after 14 years of not touching it.
I remember this conversation.
Yep. And
me.
after that, I walked away and I was like, that was nothing. And I don't think I went back for like 2 years.
I think you spent $1,000 that month or something. I'm joking. I'm
Nah.
joking. It's a joke.
It was like $10. I walked away and there was no longer a need to go back. Well, somewhere over the 14 years, I had done the inner work to where all the drivers that
Yeah.
was driving
Yep.
me to that were
But I
gone.
could tell how he was acting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not there.
Yeah. So for the listeners, we didn't know this was going to go here, but
Yeah.
that's kind of how it works. So this is who Bob is and how we know Bob.
Hi.
This is how we met Steve. Why the three of us are kind of like three stooges working together on
Yeah.
our healing and
Oh,
development.
amigos. Oh, Stooges.
Oh, yeah.
Amigos.
You'll grow secure enough to where you can handle that.
Being a stooge?
Yeah.
That's
admitting your stooginess.
And, you got to catch him on a Saturday.
Yeah.
That's right. No, that's Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what we do. And we don't just do this with the three of us, but lots of other people
Yeah,
too. So
absolutely.
Well, and that's what I was going to say is like some of the things that I have learned from the two of you, I now implement with
fun to see.
guys and et cetera.
And that's a benchmark if you're healed.
Yeah.
and now
When
you're
you can
doing
te-
now
when
you're
you
doing
can teach and walk.
Yeah.
and you're doing that with your life now. You're
Yeah.
now helping others. You're doing
I am.
leading Celebrate Recovery.
Leading
You're
Celebrate Recovery.
doing speeches, and
Yep.
you're talking about your testimony and your story.
Yep.
And you're coming in and doing music.
Yep.
And that's, I think, the bigger picture of this music is the reason why I bring in people I know is because I have a relationship with them.
Right.
And it's like, I don't care where you come from or what you've done. We're all part of something that's
Absolutely.
bigger
Yeah.
than all of us. This isn't just about Jeremie Heston. It's about creating something that's going to affect people in a good way, and it's
Right.
going to heal. It's going to bring peace, all kinds of things.
So God's
And why wouldn't I want you to be a part of that as opposed to some stranger I could hire for $300 an hour? Who,
Right.
Yeah, there's no connection there.
He'd pay me.
It's part of what he owes you.
Oh, got it.
Okay, so if we want to talk about payment, I want the last 11 years of my life back.
And you know,
Sold.
I love you, Steve. Love you too, Bob.
love you too, Jeremy and Steve.
Okay, we're gonna go to the last segment now. He's now leading Celebrate Recovery classes and giving speeches, and he's healed to the point now where he's helping others. So how does all of this translate into music? Well, I remember Steve, the drummer that I looked up to when I was a kid. And throughout his life, he still maintained that love for drumming. And for me, it was no longer about his skill. It was about him being part of this. And I think that's been part of his healing, part of my healing as well, is to bring him in and say, not only did we come out of all of this crap,
Right.
but look at us now. We can work together on the most extraordinary piece of music I've ever done in my whole life that I know is going to touch thousands.
Yeah.
And we can do this together. And look at what God can do through that broken mess. Can restore it to this and make a difference in the world. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. Why wouldn't I bring him in? And so, what a privilege. What a privilege to be a part of all of that.
Yes.
Not something I orchestrated.
No, you were a tool, just like he was.
Yep.
Active participants is
Yeah.
being tools.
Yeah. It's kind of amazing, isn't it, how God can use people like us. Imperfect, broken, don't always have the right words, don't always have the right speech, sometimes even say the wrong things. And a warped sense of humor, on and on we can go with that list of judgments, and yet God uses us anyway, just like he used the disciples. Imperfect group of guys, Peter was a fisherman, and yet God used them. And there's hope in that, I think, for all of us. And if you are struggling with what you just saw, I want to read this scripture to you. Luke 15, 1 through 7. Now the tax collectors and sinners were all gathering around to hear Jesus. But the Pharisees and the teachers of the law muttered, "This man welcomes sinners and eats with them." Then Jesus told them this parable. Suppose one of you has 100 sheep and loses one of them. Does he leave the 99 in the open country and go after the lost sheep until he finds it? And when he finds it, he joyfully puts it on his shoulders and goes home. And then Jesus goes on to say, I tell you that in the same way there will be more rejoicing in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous persons who do not need to repent. So, I don't know about you, but I don't want to be like the Pharisees. I don't want to be like the prideful righteous person who feels they got it all together and can look down on people who they feel are not clean enough, not holy enough, not godly enough, that are less than. I'm telling you, that's a dangerous place to be. And I don't want to be that guy. So hopefully you don't either. Now, when we go to this next segment, you're going to see a little bit more of the banter. Clark goes on a quick 5-minute break here. And when he goes on a break, I'm kind of adjusting the cameras and we're just talking. And this outtake happens. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this outtake in just to kind of put my money where my mouth is. And, if you hang with sinners and tax collectors, it's messy. It's not perfect. But there is love there. And that is if you meet people where they are with love. Love is what restores. Love is what heals. And even though we're not perfect at it, I want to be someone who loves, who sits with the sinners and tax collectors. And I don't have to be perfect, because building God's kingdom and furthering his ministry is not about me or my perfection or my abilities or what a good Christian I am. It's about loving God and loving people. And at the end of the day, it's all about God. So I'm just going to warn the religious people, you're probably not going to like what's next, if you are one of those holier than thou types. But screw it. Let's roll the clip. Talking about trying to hit a certain note.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't know if I can sustain the note. I don't know. I said, you need to give it a good pump. You step up to the mic like this, and you give it a good pump like this. You get it right, or I take the microphone and punch it to your head.
Do you know that he turned 75?
I know.
Yeah. And
That's
he's
insane.
And he's still strong as an ox.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy. So,
That is.
yeah, there's funny moments throughout all of the different sessions, and you're going to see all that in season 2. There's funny moments in season 1. Hilarious stuff. Oh my gosh. This is too much fun.
It is.
You got him, bud? All right, thank you.
And break.
Do that again, Steve.
What?
Do that again.
Okay. And break.
Take care of one more.
Sparkles.
Oh my gosh. That's a wrap. You go.
Oh, it's 3.
That's
Oh,
right.
is it?
It's the Z.
Well, I left the third one for you.
Oh, that's for you.
No, sir.
And your leopard fin.
We're not going there on camera.
Yes, we will.
No, sir.
Too late.
Too late.
All right. I'm waiting for...
Oh, I see now the real truth's coming out.
Well, there's certain viewers we don't want to push over the edge.
Man. So that's why you want me to do the and break?
That's different than saying things like leopard skin thong and...
Like what you wear?
No, it's yours.
It's not mine.
The interesting thing is you're both arguing who possesses this.
Oh, I'm not arguing.
Well-
It's just fact.
That's not yours?
It's not mine.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean...
I don't even actually where we started this. We started about like 2-3 years ago about this.
2011.
Was
Yeah.
it that long?
Yeah, I was
Oh
trying
my
I was
gosh.
trying to teach him about projection.
Executive producer.
Enough said.
And so I told Steve, you know, I know you have this because we're working on recovery, we're working on all kinds of addictions and things like that, right?
Uh-oh.
And so,
I didn't realize it was that
you
long.
know, Steve had these moments where he would get too serious, in the recovery process and just beat up on himself and whatnot. And so often I found a good way to break people out of that is stark humor. It just shocks them out of their negative place. And so I'm like, well, the first thing I think we need to work on, Steve, is this fetish you have with leopard skin thongs and pole dancing. And it took him from this woe's me moment to, oh my gosh, and we just started laughing. And next thing you know, all the defenses went down and I was able to speak to him. And so it's a neat technique working with people, and at the same time, you know, I know it's still an issue.
For you?
The
Yes.
leopard skin thing. So
For
ever
him.
since then, he's been projecting that onto me and saying, no, it's you who possesses these things. But the fun we have in recovery, hey, Steve.
It's okay. It's okay. He's in recovery too.
It is true. It is true. I'm in recovery. All right, we're going to go back to the interview.
I'm too sexy for my shirt. Too sexy for my shirt. So sexy it hurts.
I'm pretty sure that there are going to be a lot of people that really get that. And there will be a few out of there that I could lose some friends over it, but I would rather err on the side of loving people than living in fear and judgment. So, with that, Steve, I want to say I'm just so proud of you, and I thank you for coming in with all of the suffering you've gone through and all the work and recovery over the last 12 years to develop to this point to where we can come together and be part of something special like this. It's just amazing to watch God work in my life and in your life. And so thank you once again for coming in. I love you lots, man. And so for everyone else, I'm going to get back to you in just a second to close up this episode. And in just a moment, we're going to have one more sample of Steve playing the drums from the rock music video. But first things first, I think you know what time it is. So let's roll the clip.
Brothers of the Flatulence.
You are going to get a gift from Jeremie.
11 years.
Now, I think it's a prime delivery. About a fifth of something in a bottle.
Ah, sweet. As long as it's the good stuff.
Okay, don't open it yet.
Don't open
Just
it
hold
yet.
it.
Got it.
Here's your card. I would like you to read the card out loud to the camera.
Okay, hold on a second. Oh,
Read it out loud for everyone to hear.
read it out loud for everyone to hear. Thank you. You're welcome. All right. Hold on. Holy cow.
Holy cow.
Okay. Steve, comma. Oh, no punctuation? Got it.
No need. No need.
We've come a long way, you and I want you to know how proud I am of you. You have done the work to become a more healthy and whole person, and God is using your life and story to help free others as well. What an honor and privilege it has been to watch and be a part of. Thank you for coming despite your pain and being a part of this music and vision. Many people are going to be touched by this. So to demonstrate my thanks and how much you mean to me, I'm presenting you with a small gift. May this always be to your heart and smile to your face. With love, your friend, Jeremie. Is it not a whoopee? It can't be a whoopee cushion. Mm-hmm. Okay. And thank you. I appreciate this.
Yes.
It is a whoopee cushion. That's funny.
Yeah, just blow in that hole there. The hole on
This?
the front. Yeah, put a little more air in it, blow in it. And then you plug it with your thumb and give it a good squeeze. That's awesome. Yeah.
Fine, we'll fix it in the mix.
Yeah. Clark, next time, maybe you could go outside with that.
Thank you. That's funny.
All right, everyone. friend Steve Quick. Thank you, buddy. Love you.
Love you too, man.
Thank you, Bob.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah.
Fun as always. So, as promised, I'm going to segue now to one more small example of Steve playing in the music video. And this comes from his portion of the music video from the rock version of Forever Hallelujah. In a later episode, I'll explain to you how I put those music videos together. But that's all the time I have for today. So with that, God bless you, have an excellent day, and I'll catch you next time.
I want to hit this. I don't know why I have it. I had a habit hitting the stair that one time. Just
Try. Get you guys in the shot. There you go. Alright.
Can you guys be shorter?
Clark.
Give me a box. Stand on it.
and break.
Hello, I hope you enjoyed that episode. Now, if you want to watch more episodes, you simply go on YouTube and type in Jeremie Heston, followed by My Journey Making Music, the season number, and the episode number that you want. I have 2 seasons out, and there are many episodes with wonderful stories and all kinds of fun things to watch. Also, at the end of season 2, I am releasing 2 very big music videos for the song that I wrote entitled Forever Hallelujah. And I will be releasing a rock music video with a rock band and all the singers, and an a cappella music video. The final episode for season 2, the season finale, includes the a cappella video, and that is the Fun Facts episode. So there's the information you need for the video series. And for finding my music, I have 3 albums out. One is Christmas Guitar Piece, the other is A Light in the Storm, and my 3rd fall release of 2023 is Just Let Go, and that should be released in November of 2023. It should be available to download all of that music on iTunes or Amazon. Hopefully Spotify, I believe so. There's been a lot going on trying to get all of this done. And so if you don't see it up right away, just be patient. I'll get it done as quickly as I can. And you should be able to download all my music on all of the major sites. So there's all the information you need to enjoy the videos and to enjoy the music. Thank you again for watching. Thank you for all your support. And I hope you will go and download the music today. God bless you. And I will talk to you another time. Take care.